What is going on YouTube, Lamont at large? And today we are taking an electric scooter ride up to the house where Chris Watts murdered his family on August 13th of 2015. Murdered his wife, Shanann, two kids, Bella and Celeste, and his wife was pregnant with a baby boy. She was about 4 months pregnant at the time. I ain't gonna lie to you, stories like this I tend to not do just because of the immense amount of exposure when it comes to the media wanting to talk about this crime, over and over and over. Not really my cup of tea. Nonetheless, I was actually on my way down to Aurora, and I wanted to stop here because I was just curious about what the house looked like. I wanted to see what the neighborhood looked like. I wasn't planning on doing a video. I just said, you know what? I'm getting my scooter out of my van. I said, let me take you guys for a ride, because I'm sure most of you guys probably will never come to Frederick. It seems like a nice place. I think we're about 40 minutes north of Denver. And Chris Watts, I did do a video about him about 4 years ago. I went up to Wisconsin and kind of went to the prison where he's currently at. And so, you can go ahead. Thank you for not running me over, like most people would have done. So I'm not gonna go over a lot of details of the crime because I feel that you guys already know it. This is just, Chris Watts was just a prototypical punk, wanted to escape his financial responsibilities of taking care of a wife and, soon 3 kids. I'm not exactly sure what Chris Watts did for a living, but he worked for a petroleum company. I think it was called Anadarko or something like that. I don't know if he was general labor, but at the time of the murders, he was making about $61,000 a year. So I'm not gonna say he was any kind of employed in management. But, at the time of the murders, I think Shanann was doing like some kind of MLM stuff. She was selling something called Thrive, which I don't know what it is. She had worked before at a children's hospital at the call center. At that time in 2014, she was making about 18 bucks an hour. So altogether, they were making $91,000 a year. So the house, which is straight ahead in front of you, they bought that house in 2013 just for about under $400,000. But they quickly filed for bankruptcy 2 years later. So this is a very quiet neighborhood, a very nice neighborhood. I see a lot of nice cars here. I see a cool old truck in the background. So this would be the home where they lived and where he murdered his entire family. The house is a lot nicer than I thought. So we're gonna kind of drive around and kind of see the house one more time before I continue on. This is a very quiet neighborhood. I'm pretty sure these people that live here now are probably used to people like being, like me, being creepy, being nosy, stuff like that. I see the blinds up top on the second floor. Probably they got a dog. Anytime you see blinds in a home that are messed up, I always think either domestic violence or there's a pit bull, either one of the two. See, that's the problem with me. I assume things, and that's why a lot of times people say that I'm, not a good person. So they bought that house in 2013 for just under $400,000, like I said, and then they had filed for bankruptcy. And so at the time they filed for bankruptcy, combined together, I don't know if she was working at the call center at the same time she was doing the MLM stuff or she was working, but their combined income was about $90,000. And however, when they filed for bankruptcy, they had claimed $70,000 in debt. They had student loan debt. You got the mortgage, which at the time was about $3,000 a month. You have a car payment, $600 a month. Food and utilities. I mean, when they filed for bankruptcy, they altogether have about $1,000 in their bank account. They, pretty much just remind me of a typical family in this country who just kind of lives, does not live within their means. This is a playground right here, probably about a block away or so. I'm imagining Shanann used to bring her children here to play. This would look like a place that I would bring my kids if I had any. And so, listen, Chris wanted a divorce. He didn't want to be a part of the family anymore. He was having an affair on Shanann with a coworker, Nicole, is it Kessinger? And supposedly, during his confession, because originally, when the murders occurred on August 13th, they took him down to the station. I think the detectives pretty much figured out that this guy killed his family by strangling them. And he smothered. I believe he strangled Shanann and smothered his two children at the site where he dumped their bodies. And so he tells her, I want a divorce, or I want to be separated, or whatever. And then supposedly she said, well, I'm going to take the kids away from you. And then he snapped and killed her or whatever. Not to just say whatever about her murder, because it was a murder, but I don't know exactly what took place. I mean, the only person that really knows is that's alive is Chris Watts. And so he basically confessed to the murder pretty quickly. I think he was charged within about 2 days. He was exhibiting all of the signs of a murderous scumbag when they, killed their family or whatever. And that house, that I just showed, it had not been sold. So after the murders, when he was, because after the murders, he had already pled guilty for a deal so he could avoid the death penalty. So I want to say about 3 months later, November 6th, he was sentenced to life in prison plus 84 years. And so the home, it sat empty because, now they're not paying the mortgage, so it went to default. And then it took some time, but finally in 2022, somebody bought the house. I want to say they paid about $660,000, or it could have been $650,000. Whatever the amount they paid, the bank makes their money back, I'm assuming. And I don't believe the person that bought the home actually lived there or rented it out, because it's still a stigmatized property because a murder occurred there. So whoever bought that home, they, held on to it for 2 years, and then they sold it, and then it was purchased in October of 2024 for $765,000. And so obviously the people that live there now have that older truck in the driveway. And who really knows why this guy killed his wife and kids? I mean, I think oftentimes we try to figure out why people do these kinds of things, and it can never really truly wrap your head around it.